Good morning and welcome to the County of Berks Operations Meeting on January 14th of 2025. It is 9:31 and we will call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask Anne Marie to please read the public comment notice.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivera. Public comment will be accepted in person and through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality for all comments. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Comment length is dictated by the limitations of the platform being used. In-person comments will be accepted first, followed by comments submitted virtually. The meeting comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes, including both in-person and virtual comments. This time period may be extended at the county's discretion. Please be concise. Comments that are germane to county business will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue. The county shall be the final arbiter of whether a comment is germane and should be read. Any response to public comment will be done at the county's discretion.
Okay, thank you very much, Anne Marie. We are transmitting live via Teams and YouTube as well. Also, Commissioner Leinbach is joining us virtually today. He is not in person, so that's why I am leading the meeting. Okay, we'll now move to the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes or additions to the December 10, 2024 operations meetings minutes? If none, the minutes stand approved as presented. Do you have any public comment on agenda items? Nothing online or in person? Okay. We'll now start with our first presentation. And we have Sue Kissling, our Chief Assessor. Ed Stock, the Solicitor for the Assessment Board of Appeals, will be presenting a proposal to modify the period for assessment appeals from July 1st to August 15 to June 15 to August 1st and commencing in 2025. So not sure if Sue will start or Ed, and if you also want to take a moment to introduce our two guests here, which are members of the Appeals Assessment Board.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. With me, I have two members of our board. I have Laura and I have Sharon. They were our board members. And we all support the changing of the date. Currently, the filing is from July 1st to August the 15th, and we are asking the county administration to consider modifying the dates to June 15th to August 1st. So that means we're not shortening the time period. We are just making it earlier in the year. Whether our annual appeal numbers average about 500, and that's during the summer months into October, or higher than average 900, like the last 2 years have been, the office staff needs more time toward the end of the appeal season to get the appeals scheduled, to get our files prepared. We collect evidence for each individual appeal. So the administrative needs are, we just need more time at the end of the period. And typically at the end of the period is when everybody tries to get their appeals in, including what we call the ambulance chasers, who file, 300 plus appeals, and to get them in at the last minute. So now it's August the 15th and we're struggling to get all of our appeals scheduled by the beginning of October so that we can get everything completed by the end of October. It's a hardship. So the proposal would allow the office staff more time to process the annual appeals. We don't expect the change to affect the numbers in any way. When it comes to our process, which involves changing values, we cannot run consecutive processes. So that's again is another issue for our staff. We're trying to squeeze everything in and we can't have everything overlapping. We have to finish one process before we begin another. So while the annual appeals are going on, we're still working with our change appeals and working through that. But once the annual appeals are completed, once they've all been heard, the office now needs to move forward and get all of those appeals into our system. So if we make the deadline August the 1st, we have more time to get everything. We're not consecutively preparing files and getting the appeals scheduled. while we're still receiving more appeals. If we can stop the appeals from coming in, it gives us more time to keep things running. We did some research that shows the other third-class counties across the state, and we were the only county, third-class county, that extended till August the 15th. In one of the documents that I included, there was a document called the Media Center, and it was put out there by McNeese Law Firm, and it's quoted as saying there are a few oddball counties that have to be different, and thus the annual assessment appeal deadline for Berks County is August 15th. And they went on to talk about Wyoming County as well. So we were called an oddball. So we decided that we were going to look into possibly changing, referred to Ed, and so we decided we were going to make a proposal and see if we could get that date changed.
Okay, so Sue, question. What is the process right now? So right now, from July 1st to August 15th is the period that people can submit the appeal, correct? So what happens after August 15th then?
After August 15th, we no longer accept applications from the public, but now we have to take all of those appeals that we have received and prepare the file, collect the evidence, schedule it with our board. And so if we can do that 2 weeks earlier.
So the meetings with the board start from when to when?
The meetings with the board typically start, if we start collecting the appeals July 1st, we typically start around the beginning of August. First, second week of August is when we start to hear the appeals.
And the hearings run through when?
The beginning of October.
Okay, so the hearings would continue until then. You would just start earlier to give you more time.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is there a deadline that you have to have everything completed by? I know you have a hearing. You said you hear hearings until October.
By law, everything has to be finished by October 31st.
October 31st, and there can be appeals in the can people appeal the decision of the board?
All the appeals to the board have to be heard and decided by October 31st. Because what happens is then Sue will be sending, in November, she will be sending to the municipalities their tax duplicates, so they know what their tax base is for setting millages, because they have a budget deadline usually of December 31st. Once the notices of the decisions go out from the board decisions, there are appeals to court, but they don't affect the process. They sort of just go off on their own track at that point.
And you mentioned, Sue, the ambulance chasers. So there's a lot of law firms out there that see where they could.
There's a couple lawyers that will send out letters to taxpayers, sort of a mass mailing, and provide some information to the taxpayer to suggest that if they appeal their assessment, they'll save money on property taxes, and then their fee is essentially a certain percentage of the first or second year savings on taxes. The one attorney brings in 200 or 300 appeals, and he brings them in on the last day. I mean, even though the appeal period has been from July 1 to August 15, the truth of the matter is the vast bulk of the appeals historically are filed much closer to the deadline than they are earlier in the process. That's why the board can't even get started hearing appeals until they have enough for a full day of scheduling, because of the last minute filing. So our thought is if we move it up, and I would add that in the past, Berks did have an August 1st deadline. The deadline is set by the county commissioners. That's why we're here.
Right.
I think when I became solicitor, it was September 1st. And then it was shortened by the commissioners for a couple years to August 1st. And then I think there was some concern that a 30-day appeal period wasn't lengthy enough. So it was moved to August 15th. And, after we batted this latest around, we thought, well, we could start the process on June 15th, because July 1st is technically under the law, that's the date that we consider the new assessment roll being issued for the next tax year. And then we put an article in the new, or an ad in the newspaper notifying everybody the assessment roll's done. You can come inspect it, and then this is what your appeal period is. So the law says we can do that on or before July 1st. So we're just gonna, if it's approved by the commissioners, we're just gonna do June 15, put the notice in the paper and tell the public that you can now file an appeal between June 15 and August 1st. So it would still be the same 45-day period for people to file appeals. It just as the deadline is going to be 15 days earlier than it has been.
Is there any, I mean, besides the ambulance chasers, is there any opposition to changing the date from anybody? I mean, who would be opposed to it? And you say we're an oddball county. We're one of the few that still use that August 15th deadline. So
The biggest concern is just to make sure we get the notice out to those lawyers who file these kind of appeals, so they're not caught unawares that the date changed, and we're prepared to do that.
okay.
Because
Thank
we're
you.
working with R-Bar, because you have a lot of realtors
Yeah.
that do that for their
Yeah.
clients as well, look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we'll get the word out to the folks that we know pay attention to this area and make sure they get, assuming it's approved, get,
Mhm.
plenty of advance notice that the deadline changed.
Okay.
Hello, Mara Fike here. We typically do
Okay.
classes for RBAR, so we'll reach out to the RBAR office to make sure we schedule a class. And they put out a mass email to all the realtors to let them know.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We also have our system, because realtors and attorneys file appeals on behalf of their clients. We have all of that contact information in our system that we can reach out to everybody who has filed appeals in the past, and we can get notifications out that way as well.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Linebach?
Christine Sadler, our solicitor, what kind of action do we need to take? Is this a simple motion, or is this a resolution that we would need to do in a commissioners meeting?
The agenda has it just as a discussion item. It's not listed as an action item for today, so we would approve it for a resolution on as early as Thursday.
I support that. I think this makes a whole lot of sense. I, for whatever reason, didn't realize that we were out of sync with most counties. And I definitely don't want to be called an oddball. So I'm with you, Sue.
Christine, can this be on this Thursday's agenda, or is it too late for that?
No, the agenda hasn't been published
Okay.
yet, so we could list it for Thursday.
All right. So do we need a second or anything on that, or Christine? Or, because I know Commissioner Linebach was in favor.
I'm going to do a formal motion to direct
To
the chief
direct it.
clerk to list it for Thursday.
Okay.
I
That'd be
so
great.
move. I move.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to list it on Thursday's agenda for voting on. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 None opposed, the motion carries. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, we will now move on to our second item here, which is authorizing for budget, adopt a resolution authorizing a 2024 appropriation in the amount of $0 per dating listed January 10 of 2025. And in a nutshell, people may ask, well, why is there an appropriation of $0 per the listing? And I'll give a summary if our solicitor wants to add anything, but it's just basically where the money is coming from. It was coming from one pot, which I believe state money. Now it's coming from federal. So it's just how there's some accounting things that are done in the background, but it's actually a $0 net for the numbers overall. So is that?
It's accurate.
Okay.
This just allows the controller's office to do the back end reconciliation earlier than Thursday's meeting. So they're working on the year-end closing. And so they made the request to approve it earlier so they could do what they need to do on the accounting side on the back end to get their closing procedure from last year finalized quicker.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. The motion carries. Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment in person or online? Nothing in person or online. So before we adjourn, I would just like to take a moment to thank Anne Marie for her work. Barbara actually asked her to read the public comment notice today because this is her last meeting here at the county. Today is her last day. So Anne Marie, want to thank you for your work. I know it hasn't been easy these 2 last years for you, working with Commissioner Linebaugh. So we thank you for your work and dedication to the county. No, but seriously, I know the 3 of you got along very well. You worked very well together, and that helps everyone to be able to get their job done. When I think the 3 of us work well together, the 3 of you work together well. So I really appreciate being able to work with you, and I'm sure Barbara and Lynn do as well. I know Barbara's upset that you're leaving, but that's part of it. So I wish you the best in your new endeavor. Okay. Yeah.
We'll miss you and we wish you the best. Good luck. Thank you. Come back and visit us.
Commissioner
If I can
Linebaugh.
make, yeah, I'm very disappointed that I'm not able to be there. For those that don't know, I'm fighting a pretty heavy cold. Just really appreciate all the work that Anne Marie has done over the last 3 years, not 2. Michael, just pointing that out.
I was actually talking with Barbara yesterday, and she said 2, so Barbara 3.
Oh. Anne Marie has been absolutely fantastic, and I know she'll be used in her new position with Glad Tidings, and I know that that's something she really needed. I believe she's working in person for them on a Sunday and a Monday, and then working from home the other days, which allows her to be there when her children go off to school and come back home from school. And I think all of us know, but Anne Marie and I have often talked about our families and how important they are. And sacrificing your family for your career is not a good trade-off ever. And so I really wish you the very best and apologize for not being able to be there. I know I was planning to take you to lunch, and a number of other folks were joining, but enjoy your lunch with the great team of people we have, and we'll connect again. But again, it's rough not being there your very last day, actually, at the county, not just the last public meeting. So thank you for all you do.
Any words, Anne Marie?
I can say now, thank you, Christine. I just want to say thank you to the team and everybody I've met at the county. It's been a true blessing to work here and to get to know all of you. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay.
So move.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.